All right, we're live, and I could not be more excited. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and my name is Moni Amandla, your host of Bliss Up, the podcast. So whether you are listening on audio, welcome. If you are watching us live on video, welcome. Either way, I am so excited to have you today. Let me tell you guys something. First and foremost, I have missed you. For those of you who watched me before, I'm so glad to be back. You've been like, where are you? When are you coming back, Moni? Where have you been? Well, I'm back and I'm here to stay. Numero uno. If you are listening via any of the streaming platforms that we're on, whether it's Apple or Spotify or wherever you are, we're so excited to have you today. I'm going to tell you something. This show today is going to be absolutely incredible. Danielle D Smith is my special guest today. And I had been praying about who was going to be the first person. Who was I going to interview before I interviewed anybody? And I kept really wondering, because I'm like, I know so many people, but who should be the first guest? And all it took was one Zoom call from a Facebook inbox that she sent to me, and I immediately knew. And let me tell you guys something. I'm sitting here like I was wiping my eyes, listening to her story. And she's like, I don't know why I'm telling you all of this. And I'm like, I don't know either, but we're just going to just sit in this sacred space. And it was absolutely dynamic. And so I'm going to go ahead and read her bio here in just a few moments after I give you guys a couple of housekeeping notes. If you're on the live feed watching us live, it's going to be very important that if you want to interact or ask any questions, that you put your name on there so that allow StreamYard to be able to see who you are so that we can address you personally. If we can't address you personally and we just see your question, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, no matter where you're watching, we will be able to see it and respond. If we don't respond now, we will respond after the show. Okay. Yeah. And so that's that. So Danielle, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready to
what we're going to do first.
I'm ready to talk. I'm ready.
You're ready. She's ready. Listen.
I'm ready.
And let me tell you something. I'll just give you fair warning. If you have a pulse and your heart beats even a little bit, grab some tissue. And if your heart beats even a little bit stronger, don't even worry about your tissue. Get up and give us a yes and amen. A yes and amen. Everyone who knows me knows that that's my favorite phrase in the world. Yes and amen. And so there's going to be lots of yes and amens here. I'm going to be sharing here. So I'm going right to my page so you guys can see. So I'm going to be sharing so that those of you who want to share it, tell a friend, share it with someone else. Make sure that they are able to tune in and listen and say, listen, they're live. So I want you to share the live feed. So here we go. I'm going to share this now and make this public so all of you can share it, because this is going to be something that everybody is going to be able to learn from. And I'm looking at myself on this here, Danielle, and I am light bright, aren't I?
No.
Yes and amen again.
But you look gorgeous. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, here we go.
Yes.
It's the light, y'all. It's the light. So anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and share a little bit more about Danielle and who she is. And then, Danielle, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can put some little sauce on it and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what got you excited about being here today, so that we can kind of get into this organic conversation. We're not going to do a typical podcast. We're going to have a very beautiful, sacred sisterhood conversation today. So with that being said, Danielle D. Smith has striven for years to give her all to every event of her life while enduring the hurt and pain of child abuse. I know so many people have experienced abuse as young people, physically and mentally. And she's also been rejected by her family and her parents. That's a lot. All of this at first gave her reason to have a pity party. And later, though, it became her strength and her why. I love that grittiness right there, girl. I love that grittiness. She used God's help to prove the doubters wrong and is now excelling as a mother of a beautiful daughter, a community leader, a writing and publishing consultant to many who've had their stories and messages shared. She's also the founder of the Film, Author, and Photography Festival. Danielle is now taking on the task of her role as author and beyond. Her book, Yesterday's Tomorrow. It was released in December of 2016 under the pen name Danielle Sec. Her book has opened the door for speaking engagements, being an instructor at Ohio's Media School, and directing a docudrama. And being the founder of Today's Youth, Tomorrow's Adult, and once again, the soon to be international Columbus Film and Author Photography Festival. Danielle, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I listen, and I'm gonna start saying that.
And let's go.
Yes, because I'm excited about the and.
Yes.
I am. I heard that, and I'm like, no, real talk. I'm excited about that. I'm
Yes.
honored and excited, and it's not the norm. And so I definitely love that. I'm doing so much, and they all intertwine with one another, though. So every and that you said,
And
right, literally started from me writing my story.
let's start there. Let's start there
Mhm.
with your story, because all of those ands matter, right? And the reason why I put emphasis on those and just reading it out loud for the first time, putting an emphasis on those, really was to show honor to all that you have become, every stair step that you have climbed in the midst of it all. In
Mhm.
the midst of it all. So let's go back to the beginning, because I know there's a lot of people who have suffered as children, some type of trauma, some type of abuse, some type of pain that has really affected who they are as an adult. And
Mhm.
you could have allowed that to be your story. You could have allowed yourself to say, well, I never saw anything different. This is all that I ever knew, and
Mhm.
kept that as the mantra of your life. But you decided to write another story. Let's talk about that. Take us back to the beginning.
Wow. So I am a survivor of child abuse and neglect. I suffered from the hands of my mother and her boyfriend. I was then removed out of the home when I was 4, almost 5. So it was like 2 weeks before my 5th birthday.
Mm.
I had a relationship with my father. So that, Children's Services said that. So I moved with him. Relationship with my father meant that I saw him every other weekend. Uh, you know, that's what they considered a relationship, that I actually, saw him on a regular basis pretty much. No research really was done or anything like that. And I'm emphasizing that piece because now I know what they do is they definitely do research on the families, making sure that it's a good fit. Because just because someone is your family doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best fit for you either. You
Mhm.
know, it
Mhm.
could be a stranger may be better for you. Of course, they want children to be with their families because you want that dynamics, but that's not always the best dynamics for a child. So anywho, I was placed with my father, went through, custody battles and everything like that. But, my dad finally ended up getting custody of me. My mother was a recovering, she was an addict at the time. I believe, though, she really became an addict after I left, though. Uh,
Okay.
that's what I believe. I technically do not know that for sure.
Mhm.
I say that because I was a child. When I think back to it, I really did not know until I was an adult. And my mother ended up telling me that she was, addicted to different things and alcohol. But I can't speak for me knowing myself. And so that's actually a good thing. I didn't know my mom to be strung out on drugs. So, I didn't know until later. But anywho, had many abusive things happen to me. Being with my mother, it was physical. When I moved with my father, it was emotional and verbal.
Mm.
So dealing with both dynamics, it was the emotional and verbal was better than the physical, though. And so
Mm.
I never said anything. I wasn't saying anything at school because it was a better situation. When I was going through abuse with my mom, there were times when I wouldn't receive a meal. And not because we couldn't afford it, because we could. My mother worked. I think, you know what? Let me take that back. I don't know if my mom worked. I think my mother worked. I saw her leave sometimes at workish times, right? But her boyfriend had a job, and he was a chef. He was a photographer. He did a lot of photography work. Photography work was all around the house. We see things like he was really into boxing, and then he was a chef, a private chef. And so we had food all the time. But because it was Tuesday and it was a little bit too bright outside, Danielle wasn't going to get a meal. And so when
Let's
I
talk about
learned,
that. Pause.
yeah.
Because you said that very like, but that's big. That's
Mhm.
huge. Tuesday. What did Tuesday have to do with you not getting a meal?
It was that's my comedy side of me coming out.
Okay.
There was no rhyme or reason to why I didn't receive a meal,
Okay.
because we had the money, we had the food, there was food in the house every day. They ate all the time. And so what reason could you give to not feed a child? And
Was
so,
was food used as a weapon, like a form of punishment for you?
yes, because I wouldn't receive it. And so when I did receive it,
Mm.
it was, oh, this is a good day. Oh, we get a meal today? Oh, okay, this is a good
Oh,
day. And so, I guess disclaimer I should say to those that are watching is I'm not the norm person that is an advocate. I definitely bring comedy into things that I say because I want people to realize what I'm saying, the simplicity of it. Meaning, because it was Tuesday, there wasn't a reason.
I
What
got you. I
reason could
got you.
you
So
give?
it wasn't just because the
Right.
children are not going to eat today.
Right. And it was just me in the house, and you're eating.
Oh, wow.
So why am I not eating? I have a 20-year-old now, and being a single mother, there were times when she ate and I didn't, or I ate a corner of it, because I did struggle for a little while. And it was like that. So that wasn't the case. They ate every day, every single
So
day,
they ate every day as
every day.
adults, but you
And
as the child were denied
yeah,
food just because they could.
just because.
Y-
And it was
Mm.
mostly her boyfriend. So, it was like a game to him or something, because it brought him joy for me to not receive him. It brought him joy to
Ah,
intimidate me. It brought him joy. Like, you could see the smile in his face, and his demeanor, uh,
mm,
doing me wrong, is how
mm.
I would say it now, because I'm like, I wish somebody would try to tell my child they can't eat. Like,
Right,
who are
right,
you? And so I
right.
can say that now, being a mom, I can answer in that manner. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Of
I
course.
can say it that way. Before, it was just when you're trying to piece things together as an adult of what happened to you as a child.
Oh, that's that
So
right there. Oh my gosh.
that's
Yeah.
what I had to do when it came to writing my book. I had to
Uh-huh.
remember the things that happened to be able to tell the story. And so when you're doing that, you're thinking about what you're thinking about the incident,
Right.
but then you're also thinking how you felt.
Yes.
And now you're analyzing it as an adult as well.
And
So
trying to figure out why.
right, right.
What was it about me? What did you go through any of those questions? Like,
Woo.
what did I do? What was I not worthy of love? Did you
Yeah,
ever struggle with that, like as an adult woman, because of what happened?
definitely. Rejection was huge
Yeah.
for me. And the way that I dealt with it was not always the greatest way. But it was my way,
Let's
pretty
share. Do you
much.
mind sharing some of that?
Rejection comes in so many ways. And
Yeah.
for me, I was then became the tough girl, and I was mean, because not only did I deal with the rejection from my mom and her boyfriend,
Mm,
really my mom though, because you got rid of me, you didn't fight for me, you didn't want
mm,
to keep me. And I go with my dad, where then with my dad, I live with him, his wife. They got married before I moved in. So I've known her she's all I've ever known,
yeah.
and still married to this day. And then she has 3 children who are all older than me. Her youngest is 7 years older than I am. So I pretty much was in the house by myself. And so then going to that home where there's a whole bunch of people, because not only is it her children, but also her family. She has a big family and they're there all the time, they're around and all this. So it was a big dynamic for me to go from me and my mom to me and my mom and her boyfriend, and he had 2 children, but they weren't around a lot. And so then you go into this home where there's all these people, and it was like, oh my God, family, yes, I'm gonna gravitate to this. But then they reject me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with that rejection. It was very hard for me because you long for something. You long for your, I still long for my mother, although we don't have a relationship now. I still long for her. Why? Because she's my mother. She birthed me. That's just a natural thing. And so, well, I know that now. I even
Yeah.
fought with that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why you want to be with this woman? She don't want you. She
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. There are so many people, including myself, that resonate with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really the explanation has to be something spiritual, because it makes no natural sense.
Exactly.
Why do you long for the one who didn't long for you?
Exactly.
You see what I mean? Like, how, there has to be something that's still connected there, that we will always somehow feel like it's a missing part, even though I'll fool with you, but there's something in you that I still love, because I am still of you.
Yeah. And you said it, the longing part. I mean, really, when you look at that word, it's like, how do you long for someone? How do you desire to be with someone that doesn't want you? And it was harder for me.
Child.
It was even harder for me when I became a mother,
Mm-hmm.
because it was, I don't understand. I really don't understand you now, child.
Yeah, right. Right.
Like, I tried to understand you. And
but
now
then when you have your own, it makes no sense, because you're like, I would give you the world.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this, did that make you then turn around and say, okay, this isn't making any sense? So now then bringing back to, then what was it about me then?
Mm-hmm.
Because by a lot, like when you birth a child, it doesn't make sense that you could look at that child and not want to pour your entire being into being the best mother that you could be.
Right.
Did that make you go back to start asking more questions? And did you ever get angry and start to be like, you know what? Well, forget her then.
Yep. Yeah, I did. And, you said it nicely. Forget her. It was a lot stronger.
I said that for the sake of the listeners.
I just want to make it plain, though, that listen, she said it nicely.
Yes. Yes. And
but
yes.
I will say this. So for me, it was, and hear me out, of the walk that happened with me. Meaning, so before I have a child, I'm wondering, why don't you want me? I'm confused. Then when I have a child, then I do go into the anger of, okay, because we say that no one, like, as a parent, there's no rule books, right? Well, everybody has to figure it out as a parent. We all got to figure out. We all have different children. There are similarities, but we have different children, and we have to figure it out. Okay, I get that, right? And I heard all of that. And then I got to a place where I offered her grace, because then I said, well, dang, this is hard. Dang. Like, dang.
Yeah.
If I could bail out, she bailed out. If I could bail out, would I?
Yeah.
But then it was anger again, because it was like, nah, I'm not.
Right.
Not bailing out.
Did you ever feel like you don't get to bail out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, I really can't bail out, because I'm not gonna be her. And so for me, it was like, I ran and I ran. I use this analogy all the time. I ran and I ran and I ran, trying not to be her. No, I dare not. I will not. I bet not. All of them, right? I will not become her. Yeah. I'm doing everything to not be her. But what happened is, while I'm running, I'm not running straight ahead. I'm looking back, making sure that I'm not her. And when you look back, you cannot run forward.
That's right. Say it.
Scientifically, it's impossible for you to still run forward if you're looking physically looking back. You're going to zigzag. You're going to you're going to veer away all the time. And so what I did was I was looking back so much that I ran full circle, well, half circle, excuse me, and ran into her. And I became like her. Now, did I leave my child? No. No. There are differences, major differences. I did not leave my child, but I became like her because I'm still of her. Even though I didn't grow up with her for a long period of time, we still have characteristics of our parents. You
Sure.
still gonna act like your father that hasn't been there. You still gonna act like, because they birthed us. There are going to be
Absolutely.
similarities.
Absolutely.
So it's inevitable. And so, because like I said, I did the whole running thing to not be like her. There were things that popped up where I was like, okay, I'm not going to do it this way. And so I did that, but it was always this fight. And it was like, who are you fighting with though? I was fighting with myself more than I was fighting with her.
Absolutely.
Because I'm trying to figure out how to be. And so while doing that, you know, so many angry things. You asked about the anger. I was very angry. You know, I didn't want to be around her because I didn't understand, because you foolish, she, all these negative words that I wanted to say. And I did say to her face. And you know, we would get into these battles and I'm like, yo, you foul because you left me. Like it all, any conversation ended with, but
now this is between you and your mom.
Yes, between me and my mom.
Okay.
And it was just like, because I just didn't understand. Like you made a choice to leave me because you had an option to stay. You had an option to fight for me. You had an option to still want to be with me. When I first moved in with my father, I didn't see my mom for a year. I didn't know where she was. I didn't have a clue. Nobody knew where she was. And I'm like, so you really didn't want me, yo? And not only did she leave me and not try to get me, then she marries the dude that abused me after I move out. And I'm like, yo, you really legitimately don't want me.
You know, I have questions about this. And I want to go, I'm going to go down a road because I'm always like listening, you know, to you. And I'm also listening, you know, spiritually as well. But I have a question that just came to me. When your mother essentially and of course I know the answer to this, but when your mother allowed him to deny you food, to play the game of food warfare with you as a 5-year-old child.
Oh, I like that.
When your father came and, you know, and he had, you know, he was verbally, you know, and emotionally abusive and so on and so forth. How did that shape your relationship with men moving forward? Did that make you, did you ever feel like, oh, she chose him and I'll never do that. I'll never place a man before my child? And did that affect how you did relationships and how you did love moving forward?
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I did not want to be married until I was 34. 34.
Okay.
Men are foul. Men are, you know, now, meaning I loved men.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. Okay. I loved men. I dated men, but I did not want a commitment. And I was I played no games with that. If you want to get close, you got to go. I did not want a commitment. I did not want a relationship. If I cared too much, I was out. There's a guy I'm friends with now where he was like, we were dating and he's like, man, I remember when you shared with me that you wanted to do a book. And I was like, yeah, I shared too much. I'm out. I was like, I gotta go. I didn't share things. You definitely was not meeting my daughter. You didn't even know her name. You can't even utter her name. You ain't precious enough to even say my child's name, let alone meet her. Oh yeah, nah, you thankful you even know I have a child. You
I
think that you know that much about me.
Yeah, that's sort of a trauma response too.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what it was. It was just like I didn't trust men because of the abuse. I didn't trust men because then, to be honest with my father, he just was as an so we still don't have a great relationship. I can call him. I know where he is, but I always knew that. And people, that's the dynamics people don't understand. It's like, well, for a lot of women, or I could say people in general, I can say men and women, when they deal with daddy issues, right? Well, let me take my fingers down. Daddy issues is a real thing, right? But when they deal with daddy issues, it's because they're not there. Well, I saw
Mhm.
my father every day,
Yeah.
every single day. I knew where he was. He was at work, in front of the TV, in his room, or
Mhm.
at church. That's it. But he never took up for me. It was a lot of stuff that I dealt with my stepmother that was horrible. And he never took up for me. He never guarded me. And I was just like, oh, you a pushover. And I mean, there's people on my page that know my parents, and I've never held my tongue about my relationship with my family. I'm not going now. I'm not going to do it now.
Thank you
Um,
for your bravery, because
and
so many people don't share their story.
yeah,
So many.
so many. And I will say this for those that want to, I always tell them the truth of what you're going to deal with, because it's not cute and it's not pretty. But when purpose is behind it, there's a difference. And when I first came out about my story, and actually it was before, when I just told them what I'm going to be doing. One thing I told my family is, you have to be careful what character you play in people's lives, because you don't know how it's going to come out, what you did to them.
Yeah.
You have no clue. How do we find out that Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce? Through a song,
Right.
through
Right.
her purpose. Her purpose is song. Her purpose
Right.
is, all this beautiful music. And that is how we found out.
Yeah.
And so you have to be careful of what character you play in people's lives,
Mhm.
as children, to children, through your adult life, and so forth and so on. And because you don't know how it's going to come out, what you did. And you could be sorry, well, go apologize and fix it. You know what I'm saying? Because people change, we evolve. I know I have. I've done things that I'm not proud of, and I've apologized to people. Have I done it with everyone? No, because God still shows me things that I've done. But I say that for a reason. Listen, I'm a storyteller, so I'm always gonna go around the mulberry bush, but trust me, you're gonna eat fruit. Um, I say that for a reason because I was so angry with my parents, and there was purpose behind it though. Meaning God knew. So I also have a movement that's called Don't Be Quiet. God knew, like, she ain't gonna be quiet about this, because there are so many people that are dealing with family hurts, and they don't want to say anything because what goes on in this house stays in this house, and you don't want to shame your family and all this kind of stuff, but they did it though, yo. And so it's like they weren't ashamed of what they did. And not even so much that, because my book is not a tell-all book. Okay, I'm not the National Enquirer. It's not sitting by the grocery store at the checkout lane so you can get the latest gossip. No, that's not what my book is. My book is about teaching and saying, one, I made it. So listen, child, if I made it, I ain't no better than you. You can make it too. Okay. Because my successor was Oprah. When I found out that Oprah Winfrey went through abuse, I was like, oh, child, she just like me.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, okay. She put her pants on like me. Oh, she was abused. Oh, hunty. Oh, okay. If she made it, I know I'm gonna make it.
That's right.
And it wasn't make it to be big and famous. No, it was made it as a person. Made it
That's
as
right.
in she wasn't a full statistic in that negative sense. She went through the abuse and was able to then propel and make something of herself, to not go into alcoholism, drug, to not go that route. Yo, I've never done drugs because I didn't want to be my mom. And so I drank. I'm a social drinker, but I never got drunk. Oh, well, hold on, I did get drunk. So let's we're not gonna lie on the show. That's I
we
was
just
not
hey, we're telling the truth here. We're telling the truth here on Bliss Up.
Right.
But I want you to continue because I have a follow-up question to that question for you.
Okay. But so anyways, my point was just that on that I can end that piece. It's just that, just trying so hard. You got to fight the battles of what you don't want to be like. And figure out the norm though, because one thing that happened to me when I started writing my story and I started getting all this truth, I went to my mom and I had to admit, I looked at her one day and I was like, yo, you're beautiful. And she was like, thanks. This was one of our good moments. And she was like,
yeah,
thanks. And I was like, no, like for real, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
She was like, well, thank you. And I said, no, I always thought that you were ugly. And I said, because when my father would talk about you, it was, you look just like your mom. Oh my God, you just like your mom. And so that negative tone made me see her as ugly. Because, oh my goodness, I look like my mom. I act like my mom. Well, that negative tone tells me that's a bad thing.
Right.
And so that's the mental and emotional abuse that I dealt with my father. And that's something that I hear a lot when I'm out, and I can't, it makes me cringe because we're telling our children that they're like their father, which is supposed to be a good thing, right? It should.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, lay down with them. Come on, let's be honest. All right. There was, you know what I'm saying? There was something.
Yeah.
All right. Now y'all just moved on and let it be. But my goodness, it was something. He was fine. You got with him. Come on.
Yeah.
And so my mom is pretty. But anyways, in that process of me saying that and being honest and realizing that she was beautiful, then I started seeing myself as beautiful. Because I never.
Isn't that interesting? Like how that I want to say full circle, but that the way that happens to where you kind of see that which was the source of your greatest pain was also the source that helped you to see the beauty in that pain.
Yeah, it was freedom for me.
Wow.
It was freedom.
How did that that freedom is incredible. I'm very curious because most of the time, and I know even speaking for myself, when you don't have that relationship like that with your mother, how does that affect you connecting with other women? Like if your mom didn't speak up for you, and or your stepmom, you didn't have a great relationship with her either, or great experiences, and you watched your father sit by and not say anything, and nobody defended you, right? How did that form your relationship with other women as an adult?
So for a long time I was angry and I was mean to everybody.
Okay.
And those years were protection for me because now at this point I was a mother and I was like, yo, bet you ain't gonna do it to my child.
Right.
I was so protective of her, which we all are protective of our children. Well, I can't say that because my mama wasn't protective. So we all ain't protective of our children.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we're here, right? That's what we talk about. But anyways, my point is I was so protective of her that I just became angry, period. And it was by any means necessary. Yo, bet you ain't coming this way. And I always let my child know that I was her protector. I'm talking like, yo, y'all can think this is crazy, but I don't care. It made sense to me. Now I laugh about it. But if my daughter tripped on the ground got a whooping.
You know what?
I ain't playing.
I literally did that. Ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I would whoop the ground.
Yes.
And say it in front of her and everything. And then she started laughing and she wouldn't cry. And so I built that form of her knowing, yo, I got you.
Period.
And that meant everything to me for her to feel that way. Now, I will say it kind of backfired on me later. Because I remember her going through a situation at school and she was like, yo, mom, I couldn't tell you because I thought you was going to go to jail because I knew you was coming and you was not going to play. And I was like, facts. And then I was just like, oh, shoot. Well, dang, I don't want to be so that she don't share with me because she's scared. And so then it was, ain't nobody got nothing on your mama. Because then it was like, you can tell me whatever, because mom's always gonna be right. I ain't gonna go jail. I ain't gonna, like, ain't nothing gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So tell me, because ain't nobody got nothing on me, right? Training Day, King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
That's what I was. And I made sure that my child knew that. And she still knows, like, yo, mom crazy.
I get it. I
She's
get
crazy
it.
about me.
Yes. Yes, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
And so, the relationships then with other women, I was just, it was, I ain't dealing with women. I see Katina on here. The fact that we connected organically and that I like her, like I legit like her.
Katina's amazing.
She's amazing, right?
Yes.
But the fact that I legit like her was odd for me when I was younger. And I met her like right when I was coming out of my angry stage. And I'm glad, I'm honored, because she is dope. And so once I started realizing, Danielle, this ain't even you though. Like, you're being angry, and that's taking up so much energy to be angry. And I remember one time I was in church, and I've heard a couple of pastors say this. I've never heard anybody outside of like a pastor that I can think of say this. And it was so profound. And he was just like talking about forgiveness, and they going on about their life, and you still, crying or angry about this situation. And this person may not even know what they did to you, or they may know, and they're going on about their life, but you still feeling the effects of it. Well, then when I heard that, then it was the opposite for me. Now I'm gonna be me. I'm going to be happy regardless. I'm going, just be free regardless. And that's when it started the process of me writing my story and wanting to get my story out there, because it was just like, yo, I want to help somebody else feel this way too. I don't want to be angry with my mom any longer. And it was hard, because when you're dealing with mom issues, everybody does not deal with mom issues. You hear people, they win awards. Oh, I want to thank my mama. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Right. I get it.
And there's very few people that understand me saying whatever. And that was very hard growing up too, because if you said something great about your mom and I didn't, or I was like, what? Yeah. Then I'm the negative person. I'm the down person. I'm all these negative things that people would say about me because I didn't understand it. That's all that it was. I didn't understand my mom. I don't want to honor her. Meaning, my honor for my mom is I didn't fight her. My honor for my mom is I didn't kill you. My honor for my mom is I could have ran her over with my car a couple of times when we was outside talking, and I didn't, yo. That's honor. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, now I can laugh about that, but I'm like, that's what it meant for me. I was like, I didn't kill her. I didn't do nothing. That's me honoring her.
Yes.
So people get it twisted, like, oh, you got to honor her and take her flowers all the time. Psh, bet I don't.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying and what's making me resonate with this so much? Every bit of what you're saying, I'm like, yep, been there, yep. So, but what about when you're within like your families and especially within our community, like within the Black community, it's like, well, that's your mama.
Right.
It don't matter what she did. That's your mama.
Don't matter.
It don't, it's teaching us that abuse is okay because that's your mama. It's teaching us to, well, we just got to deal with it and F your feelings because that's your mama.
Right. And so what I had to start teaching people around me is, but you deserve better. Why not tell your mom how to treat you? Why not? And I know so many parents are like, nah, do as I say. And
not as right.
That kind of stuff. And, one more thing I did want to say about the whole, and this goes in with it, is we feel like because it's Mother's Day, I have to buy you these gifts and give you these cards and, all this stuff, because it's this holiday. Okay. And so, and I say this for Father's Day as well. I say it for Christmas, Grandparents' Day, your birthday. I don't care. I'm a giver. I'm a huge, I love giving gifts. Like when I tell y'all I love it, like I get so excited about giving gifts. And I mean, like, I just can't wait, especially when I really, really, really like I spend time to give people gifts. I'm not the type that's going to give you a gift card. Yo, we really don't know each other. And I'm mad because I don't know you to give you a gift card. Like, that's how I am.
Yeah.
And so for me to give you a gift on Mother's Day, that means a lot. It means I honor you and I love what I'm giving you. And I know that that you're going to love this. Well, I don't have that relationship with my mom. So why am I going to spend money on her? Once again, the honor is that I didn't cuss you out today. That I stayed away, because that's the other thing. We feel like we have to be up under people all the time. No, I respect my mom because I didn't call her and I'm not starting no mess and I ain't all up in her business and I ain't trying to. No, I honor my space, my freedom, my peace of mind by not being around her all the time. And that is how I am dealing, AKA that's your honor. The honor that I'm giving you is the peace that I have. Because if I'm causing turmoil, I'm causing arguments with you for no reason sometimes. You know what I'm saying? If I'm causing all that, then that is not honoring you.
How did you
offering plate right now? Because I know that was offering worthy. Okay,
that was definitely offering worthy. You said, I got my thing round. For those of you who are listening to the audio, I've got the purple, you know, when you have the little handkerchief in your hand, you kind of, you know, you want to throw your shoe at the stage. I'm like, yes, and amen.
Listen.
Yes and amen. Girl, yes.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to, so for those of you who are tuning in, this is why I wanted to have this conversation with her, because when I tell you all, it was organic, it was sacred, and it was instant. I don't connect with a lot of people instantly, nor do I instantly say, you are who I have to talk to first. Because in creating this podcast, in creating the whole idea of Bliss Up, it really is to keep pressing through no matter what you've been through. It really is to keep climbing those stair steps, even if you can't see anything but the next lighted step. It really is having the joy in spite of everything that came to take every bit of it away from you, and still taking that last bit of juice and squeezing it out of life and saying, you know what, this drop belongs to me. With you doing what you did, I just want to say I honor you, and I want to know what gave you the boldness to sit and say, you know what, no, I don't deserve this. I'm drawing a line in the sand. I understand who I am, but now as a grown woman, now as a grown ass, you're not going to do this. What gave you that boldness, and how did you get there?
Really, honestly, for my daughter.
Okay.
You know, and I did it for her first until I did it for me. So
yeah,
I get that definition of, and I don't mind saying this. It's not. I don't think it works for everybody, and I'm definitely going to be honest in saying that. But I was definitely a fake it till you make it person.
Okay.
But only when it came to life lessons that were going to help my future. So I faked being strong enough to be by myself so that I could be there for my daughter. And then I saw, hold up, I'm by myself. I'm a dope chick, yo.
Yes.
And when I began to realize that, and I was honest with it, because I am, you know, it was like I was cocky with it at first, like, I'm a dope chick. You know, you say these affirmations, and, you know, I became into the affirmations piece, and I'm like, you know, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, you know, and I said all those things. Actually, in 2008 was when 2007, the whole affirmations piece came into my life through a friend.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is kind of different. You know, I'm doing it, and I was faking it for my daughter, really trying to be, and honestly got it from multi-level marketing, right? I'm not a fan of multi-level marketing because it's not for me. I'm a fan for it for other people. Know thyself. I say that all the time. Know thyself. It is not for me. And, you know, man, if you can deal with the bashing of, oh, you don't like money. Okay, right. Really? It's that I don't like money because I don't want to be a multi-level marketing. No, it's just not for me, bro. Like,
right.
Okay. I'd rather sell my own business than sell your tea. I'm so sorry, but they come at you and you got to be
Yeah,
strong. You got to
you
be
do.
really
You do.
strong.
I've been there. I've been, yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so once I got through that, I was like, y'all, I get through anybody. But
If I
through
can get through
that,
MLM, I can get through anything.
through anything, seriously, because it really did teach me to be strong. It really did. But what I did take from them was reading the books and developing and strengthening your mind.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest books I read was Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
Listen, and
Ooh.
when you really look at how you can listen to something from someone else and how those thoughts can be in your brain and how they'll manifest through what you say.
Yep.
So what somebody else said came into your ear gates. And that's why the Bible says we have to be careful of our ear gates, our ear gates, our eye gates, our mouth, right? We have to be careful of anything that can be put inside. All right. Yeah, we said it. And so we have to be so careful because of the deposits that can go in. So what you heard from somebody else came into your brain, and then you start thinking it, and then it manifests. So my father telling me that I look just like my mother in this negative tone and all that kind of stuff, it manifested, and it made me feel as if I was ugly. Until one day my eyes were open. I saw that my mother was pretty, and then it made me realize I look just like my mama. I must be pretty too.
Yes.
Okay, so when all that came together, then I started seeing things differently, one little by little, inch by inch, little by little. I started seeing I'm a dope chick. And so then I took it one step further and I said, I want to know where I came from. And so I had a conversation with my mom and I was like, okay, this ain't enough. So then I had a conversation with my grandmother and I'm like, yo, why ain't y'all got no relationship? Yep, said it's just like that. Why ain't y'all got no relationship? Okay, because we just need to get to the root of this. And then I realized she didn't have a relationship with her mother. And I'm like, oh, it's generational.
Woo!
All right, so we just gonna go ahead and stop this right here.
Yes.
In mind. And so it made me look at things differently. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to dig and figure out the past so that I can go propel for my future. Because once you understand that this was a generational thing, then you can prepare for the future and say it stops here. And what are the steps that I can take to make my future differently? Okay.
Wow.
So understanding the past, what are you hurt about? You heard about your father not being there. Well, why can't your father be there? You heard about your mother not being there. Well, why can't your mother be there?
Yeah.
So then one day, now this is going to trip y'all out. One day, then it made me realize. So my mom had been through abuse as a child. My mom was abused as a child, was pregnant by her stepfather. And then she lost the baby. But nobody believed her. She went to my auntie took her to the police station and said, yo, this stuff happened. Yo, help her. Like, charge the man because she was underage. Charge the man. My grandmother comes to the police station and they said, ma'am, oh my, yo, she's here because of this, all this stuff that's going on. Did you know? And my grandmother said, yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, at least I knew where he was and I knew who he was with. Ma'am. Okay, now let's take it a step further. Now we're grandma out of it. We charging this man. Grandma crazy. Okay. So we're not listening to grandma. And so we just gonna go and charge this man, right? Well, then he gets off.
What?
And so how would you feel? You underage, you told finally, and no one believed you. And the person that didn't believe you, let's take it even a step further. Not the fact that no one believed you. Excuse me, the mother that birthed you. You came out of her womb, didn't believe you. And so then you deal with it.
But then the mother actually knew, though.
Mm-hmm. And so when I looked at that and I said, wow, my mom didn't know any better. Like,
did that help you extend grace to her?
So I extended grace to her because she legit didn't. How would she know to do better? Okay, but then I went back and I was like, well, I figured it out, right? Okay, listen, y'all, I figured it out because she's still alive. Yo, every year I'd be like, I didn't kill her, and I meant that. Like, I ain't had no help, and I didn't kill her. That meant a lot to me. She's still alive. She's sane. She's pretty. She's safe. She's healthy. I mean, that meant a lot to me. And so when I looked at my mom, I was like, okay, now what I have to do is I have to take away the title of mom. First, she's a woman.
Ooh.
And so that gave me the grace to give her even the more. First, she is a woman. What about all the mistakes I've made in relationships with men? Now, I didn't have men around my daughter. I said that already. But I ended up marrying a guy in 2014 that was hellacious. Okay. We always had peace in our home. And then all of a sudden I get married to this guy that I think is amazing, sweep me off my feet. Why? Because, I finally open up and I say I want to be, trust somebody and marry somebody. Ooh. And it don't work out, And I was a lot to deal with. So because of my past. And so now we're in a different dynamics. And so I had to let that go. I had to let that anger go and peace even the more. Now, during my marriage, so what is the good out of it? During my marriage, my husband at the time allowed me to write my book. In the beginning, he gave me sanity and safety and calmness and all this to write my book. Okay. And so then it started, before the book got published, it got really, really crazy. And I had an amazing editor and mentor that I would go to her house for peace to write. And he allowed that. He allowed me to write the book at her house. That was the only place I was allowed to go. And I remember my parents saying, like, my parents, me and my dad and my stepmom, because they raised me. Okay. So I still call them my parents. You ain't grow up with this. You grew up in a house with your mother and your father. Why are you dealing with this man that ain't nothing and, doing this to you and being abusive to you emotionally and verbally? My mom dealt with it. I'm still a product of my mom.
Yeah.
I'm still a product of my mom. And so, with that, I had to realize, like I said, what are the mistakes that I made as a woman?
Yeah.
The mistakes that I made in relationships, whether it be, with a partner, whether it be a friendship, what are the mistakes that I made as a human being? So when I looked at my mom as a human being, first, and so now at this point, we don't have a relationship. I text her, and say, have an amazing day. I love you. And, and so forth. I want nothing but the best for her. And at this point, just as a woman, I want nothing but the best for her. And for me, that's the separation that I had to make. Right now, as a woman, I want you safe. Right now, as a woman, I want you out of that marriage that you're in because it's nothing but crap. As a woman.
Yeah.
But then as your daughter, if you wanted to come along and let's braid each other's hair, even though I can't braid and she can't braid either, but you know what I'm saying, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
If that day were to come, then my arms are open to it. That's the thing too, is that we a lot of times get angry and so angry that we don't even realize that we're doing the opposite and pushing it away even further with our anger. And so when you can try to find some peace with it, because there is peace to be had with it, when you can find peace with it, then that's when come on now. I was just about to say that, Jerry. That's when the growth comes for you and the possibility of that relationship.
Absolutely.
So you can stop being angry. That can sometimes open the door for it to be something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that my mama used to say I'm a bully. So I'm sorry. She's,
you're fine.
I'm big and my mom's not. I'm very strong. I have a very strong character. I'm alpha. I'm very strong. And so that's intimidating to my mother.
I get that. Yeah. Yeah. And, but the thing about it is, even in all of your strength, you still have grace. And I think that that's really, I mean, this story that you've shared today has been absolutely incredible. And this is the part where I want us to move from what happened to now you extended grace and you're living in grace. Let's talk about your power. We've got this last few minutes to talk about who you have become in spite of it all. Because that's what this is all about.
Mhm.
This is about blissing up. How did you bliss up your life? Let's talk about that. So, who are you today,
So
babe?
today, because I was able to stop being angry and because I looked at my past to understand my future
Mm-hmm.
and to propel my future, I told y'all I'm a storyteller, and trust me, none of that was for naught. That's how I became an author. I chose to tell my story to help people, and that is the tone of my book. It is, like I said, it's not a tell-all. And so when I wrote my book, then I told my editor, I was like, I just want to write my story, and I said, I just want to help people. I just want it to be on the table, and I want those that are being abused to be able to be like, oh, I'm free now, okay. And after reading her book, and
Yeah.
she was just like, oh, okay, and I was like, that's all I want to do. Well, when we were in the editing stage, so much was coming out of me because that's what it's about, right? You have to relive these things. And I said, I'm not doing enough. What else can I do to help the people? And that's when Don't Be Quiet came to me. And so literally it's a movement to help those, number one, understand you are not alone. Fortunately and unfortunately, you are not alone. And on top of that, I believe you.
Mm,
I believe you. Now let's talk.
mm.
And my superpower is hugs. Okay. I feel like my hugs can take away all your pain. And not because I live in this fairy tale. No, I try my best to take on what it is. And I feel like when I hug you, like it's just gonna be all better. It's gonna be all
Yeah.
better. I got you. That's what I mean. I got you.
I
I
got
believe
you.
you. Like,
Yes.
that's it. You know what I'm saying? And when you're dealing with abuse and you're feeling all alone and you're feeling rejected, those words are everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that is what I wanted to give to people. I got you.
Oh,
Believe you, you
mm.
know, and you're not alone. And so during that process, I'm talking and I'm out there and I'm being this advocate and I'm helping people. And then they're like, but you ain't the average advocate because people laughing. Ain't nobody crying. Like they in there laughing and filling spirits up. And I'm like, yo, yeah, because abuse happened. Now what, yo? Now
Now
what?
what? That therein lies the question always.
Yeah.
Now
Now
what?
what?
And I love that. And I love, love, love everything about your entire being of who you are, who you have become, and who you are yet to unfold and
Yes.
into. This is so beautiful. So we've got 2 minutes. You tell us the name of your book and where to find it.
Yesterday's Tomorrow. You can find it on my website. I am Danielle D. Smith.com. It's on my website. My film is also on my website. You can rent it or you can purchase it. And that is I am Danielle D, like Danielle, Smith.com. I am telling you who I am, but I'm also reminding myself of who I am. Okay.
Yes.
And so
Yes. And amen.
also, you can find
Yes.
information about my movement there. And because I did a film and I toured the circuits of film festivals and won some awards, y'all, I'm certified, okay? And won some awards for my book, I then turned it into a film festival to be able to help children to be able to do the same thing. Where would I be if I had someone like me in my life as a child dealing with abuse? And that is what we're offering with today's Youth, Tomorrow's Adult, as well as my film festival that is going to be, it is international, yo. But that is how you can get in touch with me on my website. I am DanielleDSmith.com. Or if you have information about your film or book, because it's for film authors and photographers, that is Columbus FAPfestival.com. Columbus, F like film, A like author, P like photography, festival.com. And I am honored to be on here with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone that has watched and said things and listen. I was and amen with y'all's comments. I'm appreciative.
Yes.
Thank you.
This has been amazing. I am, again, thank you for being the very first guest for the Bliss Up podcast. thank you for being so dynamic and so transparent in your story and so raw and vulnerable and truthful. All of the things. I am excited about everything that you're about to do and all the different cities, the film, the authors, the film author photography festival. It's going international, and I'm pumped about that. You deserve every bit of the flowers that you are getting. I am honored to have had you as the first guest, and I know that those of you who are listening via the stream, those of you who are watching us, I know you have been touched by this story. Keep coming back every Tuesday for more stories on how you can watch everyday people be the heroes of their own lives and the heroes of others' lives by blissing up no matter what they've been through. Y'all got this. You got it. Danielle, stay with me. Guys, bye-bye. Thank you. Love you. Yay.